What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to this new zombies content for you today. Now, for those of you who haven't been living under a rock for this channel, I have since completed, since the start of this year, my Black Ops 4 Zombies replay series, and as promised, I said throughout all of that series that I would get around to making a comprehensive review of the COD Zombies mode in the Black Ops 4 game, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, what I think worked, and what I think definitely did not work, and also hoping to do said review in a 15 to 20 minute video. So here goes nothing, I guess. Black Ops 4 Zombies had all of the components going into it to make it the best Zombies mode that we've ever had in the Zombies community. It had a huge budget on launch. It was really only because of the bugs, blue screens and issues that the launch had that most of the funding for Zombies got pulled out through the DLC cycle. Fun fact here, Treyarch were actually planning on giving us 8 DLC maps instead of the 4 that we got in the end. Those 4 obviously being, in this particular order, Dead of the Night, Ancient Evil, Alpha Omega and Tag der Toten. We were also going to get 4 more maps in the DLC cycle. Apparently it was going to be every DLC drops and you get 2 Zombies maps in said DLC, but because of the really rocky and shaky start that the launch of the game had and all of the bugs, that it just it didn't turn out that way, sadly. But if it did, we'd be looking at Black Ops 4 in a very, very different light, if you ask me, in terms of the Zombies mode that it gave us. Because, at least to me, it does seem like Black Ops 4, at least in its finished project, does seem like an unfinished game. It does feel like there was something missing in there. I feel like we could have got a few more maps. And the whole, 8-map DLC thing that we probably, would have ended up getting, it makes sense because the game launched with 4 maps. Well, 3 if you don't count the classified map that we got as part of a paywall if you got the season pass or whatever. But you had Blood of the Dead, you had 9, and you had Voyage of Despair. That's 3 maps on launch. That's a lot of Zombies content, to get on the launch of a game. We haven't had that many full maps, to launch a Zombies mode with ever. Black Ops 4 is the only map to give us this much content on launch, and it does seem like that trend would have continued if things went better. Throughout this video I'm going to be discussing the main criticisms that this game got with its Zombies mode came with it, and also talk about afterwards the maps in particular, which ones I liked, which ones I didn't like, and briefly go over what they did well and what went less well. Those are as follows. First of all, the perk system. I will need to talk about that quite in detail. The Loadout System, the Pack-a-Punch system, the point system, as well as that the story briefly. To be honest, this video is going to be less about story and more about mechanics and gameplay, as well as that the shield, the health system, and then, like I say, the talking about the maps at the end of the video briefly. Firstly, let's talk about that perk system, because though I am going into this video with the hope to maybe not redeem, but at least defend Black Ops 4 a little bit for its Zombies mode, but I'm going to be honest, the perk system is the one thing that I cannot defend. I feel like that is the biggest flaw that this mode has, to be honest. In concept, I like it. I like it in concept. I get what they were going for, getting rid of crutch perks, and also making it so that you choose the perks you're going to run before you spawn into the map. I personally like that approach. I also like the idea of getting rid of crutch perks. It's just that what they ended up doing was getting rid of the crutch perks that everyone loves and replacing them with different, weaker, more lame versions of those perks. Like Dying Wish is a poor man's quick revive, and Winter's Wail is a poor man's widow's wine. It just feels like they didn't try too hard to get those creative juices flowing to make new creative perks. If they were going to do it that approach, they should have gone whole hog and just made some really out there perks instead of shit like Ethereal Razor or fucking Bloodwolf Bite. Those lame excuse for new perks. They never really hit the mark for me. And obviously when it came to the perk variety, that is about all they did. They either made a slightly weaker version of those fan favourite perks that are less loved, like I said, like Dying Wish or Winter's Wail, or they just ripped off existing perks like PhD Flopper and made a perk called PhD Slider. How original, guys. Also, to piggyback off of the whole perk system rant here, I also want to briefly discuss elixirs. I haven't used a single elixir except for the Temporal Gift. That's the only elixir I ever use. I just don't see any purpose for any of them. I just don't have the appeal to use them. I can play the game just as fun without them, which I guess is kind of almost a plus, because if a game can stand on its own and be enjoyable without having to use the microtransaction system, I guess that could be seen as a positive rather than a negative in Black Ops 4 Zombies if you want to see it that way. But in my opinion, elixirs are literally just a reskin and a stupider version of the Gobblegums, and everyone knows it. I'm just beating a dead horse this time. I never use the elixirs, I always use the Gobblegums. It's just night and day, really. So I won't really be talking too much about elixirs because I barely use it. I barely use those elixirs in the first place, so it's not really my place to talk about it too much. But just know it's a bit stupid in my eyes, and I don't really hear many people praising the elixir system, to be honest. But I mean, who really actually praises any microtransaction system in video games? It is plaguing the gaming scene, so yeah, the less we talk about that, the better, if you ask me. The whole idea of the loadout system with like you choose the perks before you spawn into the map. You also do the same with you choosing what specialist weapon you wanna use when jumping into the map, and I will get onto the specialist weapons in detail in a sec. But also, obviously, elixirs being something that you get to just spawn in with as well. It's just a bit. The loadout system in concept is cool, but in my opinion, it just kills game progression, if you ask me. Like, if you just spawn in with an overpowered specialist weapon, like the Path of Sorrows or some shit, you will not need to worry about downing to a zombie until like round 10 or something. And even then, those things are infinite ammo, and not infinite ammo, but infinite damage. So it is a bit like you're definitely overpowering the player right on spawn, which is a bad thing for game progression, like I say. I don't mind the idea of giving the player different starting weapons to choose from. I also quite enjoy the variety, because whether you choose the Mog or the Strife or the Sorg or the Garrison or whatever, it is all gonna be, they're very, very similar in strength, so you're not really losing too much of that zombies experience when it comes to gun progression in the game. You're gonna still want to go hit the box to buy a stronger weapon rather than just sit with that same weapon that you spawn in with, because that makes the game very boring if that was the case, which is something that Cold War failed at, to be honest, if you ask me, when it comes to like spawning in with the weapons that you choose. Yeah. So yeah, even though the gun progression in Black Ops 4 Zombies is fairly well done, considering it's the first time they're trying, not just spawning in with just an M1911 or whatever, I can appreciate their attempt. It isn't a total flop. What is a kind of a total flop is they just killed game progression by literally spawning the character in with literally Wraith Fires and specialist weapons and elixirs, and yeah, it just kind of ruined game flow, if you ask me, and the loadout system needs to be refined a bit more if they're going to go back into this approach, because it isn't perfect. Even in Cold War, the whole idea of it isn't perfect in the slightest, and yeah. Alright, let's talk about that Pack-a-Punch machine, because that does seem to be one of the other main criticisms that I hear when it comes to talking about why people don't like Black Ops 4 Zombies, and in my opinion, it is blown a little bit out of proportion. I don't think the Black Ops 4 Pack-a-Punch system is anywhere near as bad as people say. In fact, from what I can tell, the Cold War Pack-a-Punch system is worse than Black Ops 4 one, at least in terms of like the main complaints of the Black Ops 4 one is you're spending too many points to max out the strength of your gun. Well, you spend more points maxing out your third rank of Pack-a-Punch in the Cold War Pack-a-Punch than you do just by Pack-a-Punching your gun 4 times in the Black Ops 4 Pack-a-Punch system. So that just goes to show you that Treyarch didn't really learn from their mistakes when it came to balancing Pack-a-Punch. In fact, they made it worse, in my opinion. Plus, it just isn't as cool going into a menu to then open up. I'm going to shut up, because ragging on Cold War, that's not what this video is about. I can make a separate video about that if I really want to. But when it comes to the Black Ops 4 Pack-a-Punch system, I don't love it. In fact, it's one of the worst Pack-a-Punch systems, but like I say, it's not the worst case scenario of how to, implement Pack-a-Punch into zombies. But when it comes to me, and when I get to like around 30 in a game and I'm sitting on these loads and loads of points, I do enjoy that the game does give me things to spend the money on nowadays, rather than just When you get to round 30, you've already pack-a-punched your wonder weapon and your Galil or whatever. You're like, I don't need to spend any more points. I've already got full perks. I've already got this. Whereas Black Ops 4, it gives you that little bit more. You can choose to max out your gun in the box if you've got a Helian Salvo or a Hitchcock, or you can just pack-a-punch it once or twice and just call it a day. It is really up to you, and I do enjoy that option there for you, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the pack-a-punch system isn't great. It's not perfect, but it's not the worst thing in the world. So yeah. The next criticism is the point system, and to be honest, I don't want to really discuss this one that much because it is such a non-issue. It was only really complained about when Black Ops 4 was out, and no one complains about the point system anymore now that Cold War has adopted a very, very similar point system in and of itself. So if I were to talk about in detail the point system, I'd have to break down how many points you get for how many kills and how many this and that, and that will just lengthen this video by an extra hour, and I don't fancy doing that. But the point system, the only complaint that I can hear about the Black Ops 4 point system are the people who want to turn a blind eye to Cold War and just go, the point system in that is fine, but it's not in Black Ops 4, when in reality, they're the exact fucking same, mate. So, yeah. Another non-issue that I hear a lot of people complaining about Black Ops 4 Zombies is, like, the new shield system in this game. And, like I say, I don't really want to talk about it too much because it is such a non-issue. You just have to rebuy your shield when it breaks. And to be honest, that adds a little bit of extra challenge to it. It incentivizes you to not actually, break your shield. It forces you to be a better Zombies player. And to be honest, the only people that are actually complaining about the shield system and having to rebuy it are the people that rely on the shield to survive past round 10. Sorry for the smoke and the shade, but it is the truth. Get good at the game, bitch. Anyway, now to briefly touch upon the story that the game offers, with Ether, it just kind of gives you a slightly better ending than the one we would have got at the end of Revelations. I don't love the ending, but I don't hate it either. It's just kind of there. It's kind of bittersweet, which I suppose is how all best endings are, but I don't know, it's just kind of, I don't mind. I don't really love it, I don't really hate it kind of thing. Yeah, I feel like the story is very hit or miss with Ether, and with Chaos, it's the exact same thing. Like, the first 3 maps of Chaos are kind of I don't mind the story when it comes to Voyage of Despair. We were only just getting introduced to the characters and the story when it comes to Voyage of Despair. And then 9, the story in 9 doesn't really exist. It just happens in like a fever dream or some shit, which is why I'm like, it just doesn't really matter. And then obviously Dead of the Night sucks when it comes to story and characters. But Chaos's story, I think, is single-handedly saved when we reach Ancient Evil, its final map, which is why I'm kind of sad that we never really got to see where Chaos would have gone with a Black Ops 5 or whatever came next, I would have liked to have seen it because, like I say, Ancient Evil really did save the Chaos story, if you ask me. Another thing that I do hear a lot about Black Ops 4 is the amount of boss zombies that it gives you compared to other games, and I will say that is kind of an issue that I can agree with and can't really defend too much because, I don't think all Black Ops 4 Zombies maps suffer with this, though. I feel like some zombie maps give you the same amount of boss zombies as you get on some of the fan favourite maps. So, like, Shadows of Evil, you have 3 enemy types. Well, 4 if you count the regular zombies. You have them, meatballs, parasites, and the Margwas. Meanwhile, we're going to a Black Ops 4 map. Let's go to Classified. Classified gives you 3 enemy types. Those being the Nova Crawlers and the dogs, and then the regular zombies. So, to be honest, it varies from map to map, I think, but I think the maps that suffer the most from the inflated amount of boss zombies that you get in a map is definitely Dead of the Night, and then maybe Voyage of Despair to a lesser degree. Dead of the Night with the fucking vampires and werewolves. The vampires are literally the worst thing in the fucking world. I hate them. And then Void of Despair, less so. I think the Requises are slightly easier to deal with, but then it does have the Catalyst zombies that do plague most of the Chaos zombies map. I don't know why the Catalyst zombies exist, so I hate them. But overall, I think the criticism of there being too many boss zombies in Black Ops 4, I feel like does need to be analysed on more of a map-to-map basis rather than just condemning a whole game for such a very, very, very selective issue, if that makes sense. Now the health system. Now this is something that obviously had to come in and play if they did get out Juggernog, which I will admit was a big mistake on their part. They shouldn't have got rid of Jug. They should just kept it in or something. In fact, I've had a lot of thought about this, and I've thought of a very, very useful way to implement Jug without making it part of the loadout perk system, where there are a full set of perks, getting rid of the crutch perks, but still having it so that you can have better game progression of getting more health throughout the game. Now, hear me out. Much like the health system in World War II Zombies, I feel like that is a nice little blueprint of how we could bunny hop off of that to make a perfect way to get rid of Jug, but still have good health and game progression throughout Zombies. What we do, instead of having a Juggernog perk machine just somewhere on the map, we have 2 or 3 different health stations or health stands or armor stands, some placed, randomly around the map or in set spawn locations, who knows. And what it does is each stand offers up the player 1 50 HP, 1 additional 50 HP from what they originally spawn in with. So what they could originally spawn in with is just the default 100 HP or 150, depending if you want a 2-hit system or a 3-hit system off spawn. You start with, say, just a 100 HP, and then the player's goal is to go find those armor stands and buy an extra 50 HP each time, so that they can get the maximum 250 HP or just settle for the 200 HP. That way they can choose the difficulty of the game that they're in. I think that's the perfect way to do it. Also, the idea of implementing the whole crutch perk thing into the gameplay of the mode, so just spawning in the player with those 2 additional revives that they can spawn in with, rather than just making them buy, those 3 quick revives every time they down. I feel like that's a fairly decent way to do it. I feel like if there was any way to do that, that's fair game. And the way of implementing Speed Cola was kind of unique, where you are forced to buy the 4 perks that you chose to run the game with. So in my case, from the footage you're watching, I chose to have Electric Burst, Time Slip, PhD Slider, and Dying Wish. Now, once I bought all 4 of those perks, I also get a faster reload speed, which means they've implemented Speed Cola in a very unique way, which means that when you get all 4 perks, you technically get 5 perks, because you also unlock the Speed Cola effect, which I think that's a fairly cool way to do it. I think if there was any way to implement Speed Cola without implementing the perk, that's the way they should have done it. And I feel like Black Ops 4 never really gets spoken about for how creative they do that. Obviously, the way they implemented double tap isn't really a loved feature, and I will admit it just goes under the whole pack-a-punch isn't perfect thing, because the way you unlock double tap is just by fully pack-a-punching your weapon, which, yeah, isn't perfect, but you know what? I can take it or leave it, to be honest. It doesn't hurt the game flow too much for me. I still have a good time. Because obviously the 4 crutch perks they got rid of was Quick Revive as we knew it. They obviously gave us a dulled down version of Quick Revive that you can use in the perk system they invented for Black Ops 4. But then obviously they got rid of that, they got rid of Speed Cola, Double Tap, and Jug. And what they did is that they implemented, Quick Revive to give you those self-revives off spawn. They implemented Double Tap just by fully pack-a-punching your weapon. And then Speed Cola you unlocked just by buying your 4 perks that you chose. The only thing is they didn't implement a contingency to replace the health system that Juggernog gave us for game progression. That's the only cardinal sin that I can really see that's unforgivable with Black Ops 4. Everything else about it, I feel like there is a sort of, this still works fine, it still doesn't really hurt the game too much kind of thing. So there you go. It's also funny when it comes to what maps from this game I enjoy and what maps I enjoy less. They all come in pairs. Let's talk about it. So the 2 amazing maps that I love to death are 9 and Ancient Evil, go figure. The 2 maps that are good, but they aren't breaking the game or anything. They're still just mid-of-the-road maps. They're good. Those 2 maps being Classified and Tag de Totem. The other 2 maps below that are the 2 average to below average subpar maps. The maps that are just there. They have a few issues, but they are fun to play ultimately. Those 2 maps are Dead of the Night and Voyage of Despair. And then the 2 trash maps that I never want to play again, those obviously being Alpha Omega and Blood of the Dead, for obvious reasons. So, yeah, I feel like all maps have their flaws, but also have their positives going to them. But Alpha Omega and Blood of the Dead are just bad maps, and one day I will rant about those maps in detail as to why I hate them so much. But for right now, I'm done talking about how much I hate those maps, because they tire me to think about, to be honest. So overall, the best way I can describe Black Ops 4 Zombies is balanced. I feel like this game mode is actually very well cultivated overall. I think that Treyarch did just try too hard to balance everything out. Even when it comes to the gun variety, I feel like most guns are very mid-tier. None of them really stand out too much besides the Helion Salvo, and none of them really jump out as being these iconic, you know, weapons in the Zombies roster besides the Helion Salvo. And when it comes to the mystery box variety, there isn't really a gun that I'm reaching and yearning for when I'm hitting the box besides a Wonder Weapon and besides the Helion Salvo. Yeah, with the perk system being very balanced, with the gun system being very balanced, and with the health system being way too balanced, it just comes down to how much you enjoy a game being balanced versus it being slightly broken to be slightly more enjoyable, which is, I guess, a dealer's choice, depending on... I feel like for me, Black Ops 4 does have a lot of the stuff that I enjoy in Zombies. I feel like I do enjoy the more bigger quest-style maps that you get in Black Ops 3. I feel like Black Ops 4 does provide me with that experience a lot more than the casual experience that, you know, the regos would look for in games like Black Ops 2 or 1 or World at War. But I do think that some maps do offer a sort of experience like that. I think that Classified does offer that, and also Tag the Totem to a certain extent does offer a casual experience where you can just jump on, find the Pack-a-Punch machine and call it a day. But ultimately, this Black Ops 4, this Zombies mode, is more of a hardcore Easter egg quest experience. So if you're an Easter egg hunter or a speedrunner, or a more experienced, more skilled Zombies player that does enjoy those high concept quest maps, then this is the game. You might enjoy Black Ops 4 Zombies a bit more than the casual player, let's just say that. So where am I rating Black Ops 4 Zombies? Well, Black Ops 3 Zombies I rated a 10 out of 10. Black Ops 2 Zombies gets a 9 out of 10. Black Ops 1 Zombies I gave an 8 out of 10. And then World at War I gave a 7 out of 10. So Black Ops 4 Zombies I am going to give an 7.5 out of 10, or maybe an 8 out of 10 if we're doing just whole numbers. I think that Black Ops 4 Zombies I enjoy just as much as I enjoy Black Ops 1 Zombies, but for very different reasons. I feel like it does offer a lot of content when it comes to the gauntlet system and the custom mutations. I feel like the replay value that this game offers is almost as much as like stuff like Black Ops 3 offers, with the amount of stuff we get with Chronicles, Nightmare Mode, and Dead Ops, you know. So I feel like overall Black Ops 4 does give you a lot of stuff to play with, and I feel like it should be appreciated in that regard with the amount of content that you get on there. So yeah, that's my comprehensive review of Black Ops 4 Zombies. If I left anything out, I might just write a comment about it, or I might just put it in the description or something saying a little extra critique about Black Ops 4, but if not, that's about it from me. Yeah, play Black Ops 4 Zombies if this video, you know, intrigued you, or if, you know, maybe this video actually made the game more appealing in your eyes. Who knows? Who am I to say? But that's it from me. Hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.
Tell me if this select AC or DC.